This Balatro game has taken indie gaming by storm, and I mean, why wouldn't it? Look at this stuff, it's insane. The only problem is, I can't buy it. Why?
Well, back in January, I tried mixing everyone's favourite themes, drinking and driving. That turned out to be a felony. I went 5 million into debt and I lost an actor. But I went digging through the company's assets and it turns out I have one free Google image download. So all I have to do is download a set of cards, and why did you do that?
Yeah, that's right, these transitions are back. I started by making the card sprites, although instead of making a full 52 card set, I'm just making the individual elements and writing code to write that stuff on top of it. The only problem that I faced was when I made the face cards, as I have no idea what to do with those. So I stole from this random guy on Reddit, and I would thank them, but the subreddit is now private, so I can't. Don't blame me. Once I finished drawing the cards, I got them to move up and down when the mouse hovers over them, but for some reason my code decided just to not work, so I created a separate object for the mouse, and it works, mostly. Then I made some UI elements, stuff for the hand and discards, along with the ante and round, even though I forgot to make them do anything. Then there was the shuffling algorithm, which generates a list of 52 cards with each value and suit, and shuffles them using the very convenient array shuffle command, meaning I don't have to do it myself. Thanks Game Maker, very cool. I then let you destroy cards by touching them, and when that happens, a new card appears. Sorcery, I know. Day 2 was filled with a lot of bug solving. I got the 10s looking not stretched, I fixed this weird problem where 2 cards would be on one space, and had problem where cards wouldn't move down the line. Luckily I fixed all those. Then got the discard button working. You can select up to 5 cards, and when you press the discard button they go away. And you have a limited number of discards, meaning once this number reaches 0 you can't discard any more cards, I'm sorry. Then I finished off the day by letting you play a hand. It doesn't do anything, it's just the discard button that doesn't kill cards. So it's useless, but it's getting there in terms of functionality. I started day 3 by fixing an issue I had with the play hand button the previous day. Turns out the problem was that the variables had different names. I am half glad that it was that easy, but also very mad that I didn't realize that sooner. I then wrote the code to detect what type of hand was played, so if your hand is a flush, it tells you that it's a flush. The only one that I had a problem with was straights, as you can have an ace before a 2 or after a king, and while I didn't give it superpositional properties where it can be both, it can be either one of them. I then added in some delay to make the game look nicer, as having everything happen instantly wasn't too nice on the eyes, and it looks somewhat animated, even though it isn't, it's just your eyes lying to you, that's what animation is. I then felt the wrath of the returning problem of cards stacking on top of each other, and finally added in high card, although it counts all cards instead of the highest card, so that's a problem for future me, not current me. Then I fixed a few remaining problems, made the UI look more balanced, and got it to write the hand type here instead of just having a bunch of 1s and 0s there. On the 4th day I began work on the scoring system. Because I was lazy, I decided to just steal the values from Balatro, that being these here, because why on earth would you want me to list out the individual values? What's wrong with you? I found and fixed that same card stacking glitch, although this time I made it impossible to reappear, because now when 2 cards touch, the newer and weak card goes to the right, leaving the strong card where it was, fixing all problems in the world apart from all the problems in the world. I then got the chips and malt to combine together and go to the score, and the game is now technically playable. As you can see here, you can just play the game. Should you? No, but it's still nice to see that I can if I'm deranged. Day 5 was pretty light compared to most other days. I started by solving an issue where the number added here was different to the card's value, but that was pretty easy to fix. I then began work on the jokers, which is what will allow you to get those stupid crazy combos that are in Balatro. I decided on a simple list of jokers for now, nothing that would be too difficult to implement, just the basic one that gives you 5 additional malt, which is 1 better than what's in Balatro. So take that, 4 jokers that give plus 5 malt each time a specific suit appears, joker for when things like a pair or a flush is in a hand. This also applies to things like full houses and straight flushes, even though they don't have a joke specific to them. And I also added in a few more unique jokers, like one that gives you a random amount of malt, and another that gives you more malt depending on how many discards you have left.
Now, as you can probably see by this, I'm not going to be able to get it to the level of Balatro in just 2 weeks. I mean, Local Thunk, the guy who made it, had 2.5 years. I've got 1 week. Just doing some maths, that's less than 1% of the time. But if this video gets to 1,000 likes, I might, probably, maybe not, don't hold me to this, make a part 2 where I give myself another week to add things like an actual shop, planet and tarot cards, and actual ante and rounds. Please like and subscribe to us down there because I want to get to 1,000 subs by June. This was meant to come out in April.
On day 6, I added in the rest of the post-chip jokers, which means all but the suit-specific jokers. I don't have the spreads for them yet, but they work as intended. Then I added the jokers that get counted at the same time as the cards get checked. These are the ones that give bonuses depending on the suit or the value of the cards. There aren't any ones that change more depending on the value yet though, but the framework would allow them to. I also decided to change their color of diamonds to orange and clubs to light grey, as having two suits share colors made them difficult to differentiate. Also, I wanted to steal more from Balatro. Day 7 was fairly light in what I added. I ended up scaling up the jokers, which meant I needed to redraw all of the jokers that I'd already made, but I think they ended up looking way better than they did before. Then I made the sprites for the hand-based jokers. I got through a fair chunk of them before I changed to making the remaining ones, which were much more interesting to make considering they were a bin, a pineapple, and a copy of Misfit that was really hard to fit into the area, but I ended up fitting it in alright.
Now, this was the last day I had to work on this thing, and judging by the fact that I only had 13 hours because I started it at 1, and I woke up at 9, meaning I only had 4 hours, you might expect me to have worked maybe 1 or 2 hours. 3.5, that's the most out of any day, and it was on the last day. I don't know why, I just thought it would be funny to point that out. Anyway, let's get on to the last day.
First, I decided to thin the deck from the highly specific jokers, mainly the 2-pair, full house, and straight jokers, although I decided to keep the high card joker just because I didn't want to remove the one I'd already made. Then I made this eye candy for when you get things like chips and malt from cards and jokers, and changed how you earn jokers. Instead of the shop that's in Balatro, I decided to remove cash entirely, as capitalism corrupts society, and we, as the working cards, need to seize the means of production and take one of 2 jokers randomly given to us. Yeah, this part was rushed a bit because I had very little time left, and having you pick between 2 is easier than a full-on shop and capitalism. I made this simple background. It's not the same as the psychedelic stuff that's in Balatro, but it fits the poker aesthetic better. Possibly. Next was the blinds, you know, your goal for each round. I got them to start at 300 and got by 1.5 times after each one, and when you win a blind you get a joker, as I mentioned with the joker system before. It was originally 1.2 times, but that was stupid slow, so at least this way it goes up a lot faster. Next was the game overs. You can't do anything and you get this text that says "you suck," which was pretty simple to add, all things considered. I then got these text boxes that appear when you hover over a joker that tells you what it does. This took a while because it was very difficult trying to figure out the spacing, and I also made a custom text box for them with my very limited time. I don't know why I had to point that out. Next, I fixed a very important issue, that being how all cards in a hand are counted, even ones that shouldn't. So I fixed that. Running the code for most of them was pretty easy, as I already had code that detected the cards. The only difficult one was high card, but I wrote a script and it works now. Then in the final few minutes, I whipped up this simple title screen. It's pretty much the same as the rest of the title screens I've made, but it's something. And that's time. Technically, I went a minute over. You only know that because I told you that. Anyway, let's check the game out. So this is the final game. I definitely could have made it better if I spent more than 2 hours a day on it, but I feel like it came out pretty good. Now, normally I'll have these games available to play on my itch, where you can play most of my other games, including my amazing drug driving simulator, which I've been working on in the background for a sequel, but because this is a clone of a pre-existing game, I don't really feel comfortable putting it up without Local Thumb's permission. Now, with all that said, make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and check out this video where I made a game that actually simulates drunk driving, as I mentioned before, and I'll see you next time.